What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Head at Home podcast. We are just hanging out today with Robin Gerlach. What's up, man?
Not much. Thanks for having me here. My first time on a podcast.
Is this your first time?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts, but my first time actually being on one. So
That's awesome.
I hope I come through for you guys.
Well, we appreciate you being on.
Likewise, we hope we do.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully you guys both brought some dad jokes with you. I don't.
I
Oh,
don't have
man,
dad
dad
jokes. I was
jokes.
hoping Andrew would come through.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that, babe.
His like type of humor is like puns. So he could run. I mean, if you had some situation, he could run with puns for like hours. It actually gets really annoying.
It's really punny.
Babe,
I mean,
it's really
dude,
funny,
I cannot even.
I love me some dad jokes.
Yeah.
Although Robin, I don't know if your dad ever did this to you, but when I was growing up, like summer buzz cut, that was a thing. So we'd get out of school and we'd get a buzz cut. And then before football, it was a buzz cut. And so Michael, our son, he hasn't really experienced like a hatred for him like over the past couple of years, but he doesn't like it. Like he doesn't like the process of getting it buzzed, but it hasn't really like bothered him after he gets the haircut. But
he's very particular. Like things like if there's
he wants a stylish cut.
Well, it's like if there's things out of place in any part of his life, like he notices very detailed. It sounds like someone I know, and I'm not going to mention their name, but like,
yeah, right, maybe. But I also think
like dad.
Yeah, no, not to mention any names but it's not me, so I don't.
It's not you.
Yeah,
but I think it's different now. Like when we were kids, maybe it was, or at least when I was a kid, like buzz cuts were pretty common. Like if you played sports or whatever, like that was just kind of the haircut. I don't think it's as common as it used to be. So I buzzed it on the first day of summer, and dude, he has not taken his hat off. But this is going on like 4 or 5 days. He's like, was just embarrassed about it.
Ruined his summer.
I know, and I do kind of feel bad about it. But I went a little short on the clipper. Like I probably should have buzzed it, and I went straight. Like,
were you at least telling him some good dad jokes while you were buzzing?
I wasn't. I should have. I should have made it enjoyable for him.
The first night, he's been pissed off about it. The first night he slept with his hood on over his head, like he won't. I mean, yeah, I
think it's better for him though. I mean, like it's putting him in an uncomfortable situation. It's giving him character. We were talking about that. Like I think I did feel bad about it, but I think it's for the best for him.
You don't always get what you want. You don't always get the haircut
you want. You don't always get.
You got to deal with it, and he'll survive.
He'll survive.
Yeah, but let's just not do that again.
Yeah, no.
Okay, because I've been dealing with the ramifications of your decision.
Yeah, you should let him get the haircut. Do you know what kind of haircut he wants?
I should probably ask him.
He likes where he can like have little pieces where he can like comb. Yeah. Where he can like spike it a little bit. I know. Yeah.
Right. And you're not
having some dad guilt over here. I don't know. Well, and he's having trouble. Like he's got his helmet. So he's playing tackle football next year. So he's like getting used to like putting it on and taking it off, and like the buzz cut. I think we'll help him with that. So it was kind of like I was trying to like.
You got the buzz cut for him to start practicing putting the helmet on like
partially.
Prior.
Yeah,
this
partially.
Is like the pre-training camp.
It's pre-training.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm a weirdo.
You're prepping yourself.
I'm not saying anything.
Michael, if you hear this, I love you, man. I don't know. You'll hear it at some point. Just trying to do the best for you. But he's he's mad.
Yeah.
But maybe I can make a dad joke out of that.
Yeah.
You gotta let him go with that long bang. I bet it'll look good in the helmet.
Yeah.
Like George Kittle.
Yeah. I do know George Kittle. Yeah.
One of my favorite players. He pulls off the helmet and kind of throws them
off.
I can't do that. I'm losing it up top.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Man. Poor guys.
Robin, dude, I want to get right into it, man. I love your story. And I guess, I want to just kind of hear from you. This is something that we like to do when we're talking to our guests, is find out like, how did you get into real estate? Because it's not one of those things that, I want to hear your story leading up to getting into real estate too, because I don't think many people go to college with the idea of really even getting into sales, so. Right. Tell us about your journey.
Well, it's going to be a long-winded answer here, so I'll do the best I can to wrap it up. But yeah, I never actually envisioned getting into real estate. I did envision getting into business outside, once I left high school, but I grew up in Salida, Colorado, very small town, 5,000 people, and realized, okay, I want to get out, expand my horizons a little bit, go to a bigger place where really nobody knows me. I wanted to be a small fish in a big pond. And so I started applying for colleges, universities, and I wanted to look into California as well. I got accepted to San Diego State University and started studying in business management. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to work in sports management. Did a couple internships there. It just wasn't the right fit. And so from there, I did 4 years of university. I met some great people in San Diego. And yeah, I mean, that kind of took me on the path to the rest of my life, because I met people from all over. And that's really the experience I was looking for in college, because growing up in a small town, everybody knows you and everybody knows everything about you.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this invasion of privacy, I was like, gosh, I just want to get out where nobody even cares what I do, And so San Diego State provided that. The campus, we had 35,000 enrollment, which was 7 times the size of my hometown. So it was like a dream to me.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Did you
you
have a lot of friends that left Salida? Like, is it pretty common for people to leave?
Yeah, it is. But Salida has also become such a cool town that I think a lot of them have gone back, or, those have stayed, that I could see why they would stay. It's a great town. It used to be just like an abandoned railroad town. Now there's tourism there. There's trails. They've always had the skiing and snowboarding and, but yeah, I have a few friends there, but a lot of them have left, they're in Denver or elsewhere. So, but yeah, I've kept in touch with some of my friends in Salida. Yeah.
What about San Diego? Did you ever see yourself living there long term?
Good question. I think I thought I was going to live there for longer.
Yeah.
Until I graduated college. And at that point in time, the job market was pretty rough. It was 2007. You guys know all about that. The real estate market, subprime mortgages. I was reading about it and doing, papers on it for my college. But certain folks were working in this kind of an industry when it just flipped on its head. I couldn't really get a job. I was doing some sales jobs, door to door, things like that. Buddy told me, hey, let's go to Argentina and teach English. I was like, that is so out of left field, but I love it. Let's
like, all right,
let's go for it. And I had never taught English. I wasn't the best English student in high school either, but I do like languages. So I was like, let's give it a go. We got our certificate in TESL, which was like a 3-week course. We had options to go to like South Korea, which is like where you get really taken care of. They pay for all your living expenses and,
Really?
And it's like a legitimate, I don't know, kind of a career opportunity for teaching English. But I really liked the idea of going to Argentina because I knew a little bit of Spanish. I was interested in Latin America. And so I'm glad I went down there, because shortly thereafter, I realized I'm not a very good English teacher. So I'm glad I didn't go to South Korea and find that out there. But yeah, I spent some time in Argentina, and myself and my college roommate who moved down there, we started a bicycle tour company in Buenos Aires, and it just kind of came about organically.
How did that idea? Like, like what I envision is like how some of our ideas come, where like we're hanging out and like have a couple drinks and we're like, we should do that. Was it something like that, or like
almost,
what?
Almost. It was actually on a Skype conversation, because I was up here in the US, talking. I was back visiting for a while and looking to go back down to Argentina. And he stayed down there, and he was taking friends that would visit on bicycles through the city. And the city started investing in these bike lanes. And I had traveled through Europe in 2007. This is now 2 years prior. So right out of college, and every city we went to, we would go on a bike tour. And I was like, it's the best way to get to know a city is riding your bike around it and just exploring. For a city that's bikeable, right? A lot of these cities are very flat. There's not a lot of car traffic, or if there is, there's good, bike infrastructure there. And so that, and then my friend was telling me, well, I'm just showing friends around on these bikes, and was like, why don't we just do a bike tour company? I said, I'll come back down if you, get this started, or if you agree to it. And a week later, he had a website. He's
Oh
like,
my
are you
gosh.
coming?
Oh
I was like,
man.
well, I guess I am.
Yeah.
So, so I started, saving some more money. I spent a summer in Salida, to go back down to Argentina. And, cause I left from teaching English, and it felt like kind of, like I wasn't ready to leave Argentina. I
Yeah.
felt like I just had to. I did my year there, and I was like, no, I really miss it. I want to go back down. And this was the reason to go back down. So went back down to Buenos Aires, Argentina in 2010. Me and my buddy started the bike tour company then. And our whole focus was making it a company that's about the experience, about customer service, because there were other bicycle tour companies down there.
Yeah.
But the culture there wasn't fully wrapped around giving a good customer experience.
Right.
Customer service wasn't really a thing. And so we thought, we'll do the bike tours, but we're going to really focus on providing an experience. And that will be our value proposition. That will be our differentiator,
Your
from
competitive advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. And we completely bootstrapped it. We each had like $3,000 to start this company, and we thought it would be going to the bikes once we filled out paperwork to get set up legally in Argentina. We had like 1,500 left maybe. And so we were working in jobs down there and also giving tours for free in the afternoon just to get our name out there.
Oh yeah.
So we were working on like a, medical transcription job in the morning, and then we'd go in the afternoon and do a bike tour. And then in the evening, we were delivering food on bikes to get our name out there as well.
And y'all were working.
We were hustling, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So
what was like the thing that you did when you were, trying to market yourself and get yourself out there? Like, where did you see, one, what was the thing that worked the best? And two, like, when did you start to see like a significant impact in your business?
Good question. We thought that the ultimate marketing piece for us was going to be to get in Lonely Planet, which was a huge travel publication at that time. And we thought that's what we got to get into. And we met a Lonely Planet, journalist that was covering Latin America. She had a connection with another friend of ours who was running tours down there. And we took her on a bike tour with our only 2 bikes. And we just got them like the day before. And we were like, it was the ultimate, like, oh, we got to show her a really good time. Took her around for a day, showed her, the tours that we were going to run. And at the end, she said, I'm going to put you in the book. And we're like, yes, that we thought, all right, we made it. But we didn't really get a whole lot of people from Lonely Planet, and we weren't really able to track those who would come through. What really ended up working most for us was TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
And the only way to get on TripAdvisor is for a tourist, like going on TripAdvisor and putting in your name in there. You don't set up a profile. They input your information, and then you're on their map all of a sudden, and somebody said, you guys have a couple good reviews on TripAdvisor after one of our tours. And we're like, we're on TripAdvisor. And so we looked at our profile. We're like, oh, great. At that point in time, we were able to kind of edit it and start promoting it to everybody who'd come on our tours. And in about 1.5 years, we became the top 3 activities in Buenos Aires on TripAdvisor.
Wow.
And that is where we got about 50 to 60% of our business.
Damn,
in like
that is
our
super
peak
cool.
years. Our peak years were really like 2012 to 2016 is kind of, and it's still going. COVID has shut tourism down, but now it's all picking back up. But the company's still going, and so, but TripAdvisor, I think, to answer your question, is really what kind of surprised us and took us over the top.
Which was a result from all of the emphasis that you put on customer service and creating just an awesome experience.
Yeah. That was our whole focus. We
Yeah.
would analyze the whole tour and say, okay, when somebody comes in, here's how we're going to greet them. We're going to introduce them to yerba mate, which is a very traditional tea there. We're going to include lunch, which was just a food truck. But it was a really good sandwich, you know, and we would take the tourists there, and it was kind of like on a boardwalk there in Buenos Aires along the river. And I always remember tourists would show up with like, this is where we're eating lunch. This looks like a dingy food truck. And then they would eat it and they'd be like, oh my God, this is the best food I've ever had. Well, there you go. You know,
That's
so
awesome.
we were taking them to places that tourists really wouldn't get to go.
Yeah.
Giving them the flavors they probably wouldn't have tried.
Yeah.
And at the end, we would give them like an alfajor, which was like an Argentine cookie with dulce de leche and chocolate, you know, so giving them the sweet taste after the tour. Just trying to think of all the touches, you know, that we can help make their day the best day that they had on their travels. Like that was our goal. We wanted them like, hey, this is going to be our best. We want this to be their best experience on their travel.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think one thing you mentioned that is important, especially in business and when you're building, I think that you start off thinking like, oh, these are going to be the places where like I'm going to expand my business the most, or like I'm going to put a lot of emphasis in this because it's going to, you know, create a bunch of leads for me. Right. And like, I think what you realize, and it's been our experience too, is like you're a lot of times wrong. Like you know, like sometimes you might say like, oh, this thing really hasn't mattered that much to me. Like this thing that I never even considered has been like the most impactful for my business. And so that's really cool that, I mean, it's cool that TripAdvisor was like just such a great, you know, boost to your business.
Yeah, we didn't expect it, you know, but we also realized I learned a lot doing this, that like this was like my master's degree is what I call it, because I learned, you know, one very quickly that I'm also not the best tour guide. Like I'm not a great English teacher, but I enjoyed being out there. But I knew if we found really good, and there were we hired awesome tour guides and we took care of them. We paid, you know, the guides better than any other tour company there in the city at that time. And so they loved it, you know, they loved their job. We, you know, just made their experience as best as possible. We take care of the guides and the bike mechanics, our staff, then they're going to take care of the people, you know, and that was also, I think, something I had learned theoretically in college, but to be able to put it in practice and implement in real world experience was a lot of fun. But I mean,
that sounds like a blast.
The beginning days were crazy. We were operating our tours out of like a parking garage, and we would have our bikes locked up in like 2 car spots. We paid for 2 spots. We would unlock them, bring them out to like a meeting point, lock them up, run back, grab the other 2, you know, and it was so like grassroots, you know, that we didn't have a lot of structure or capital in the beginning. We started end of 2010. By beginning of 2014, we were able to get our own storefront, you know, and that's when that was like the whole goal, like have our own place, get the storefront, you know, so we could have one place where all of our bikes are, all of our staff can be, we can have our meetings, we can have dinners there, you know, and that was a huge game changer too.
So you made that happen. That was 2014. And then tell us, how did you get out of it then? Like what happened?
Yeah, that was funny that the whole goal was like, we're going to get a bike tour company with a storefront. Once we did, the amount of issues and problems we kind of came across, we kind of became targets, you know, we're gringos in a foreign country. They see that we're bringing in a lot of people every day, probably, you know, making decent money. And we had city officials just start coming in and inspecting our storefront and giving us fines. And so we had to get a lawyer, we had to get an accountant. We had an accountant the whole time, but we just had to have everything really tight, but it was also, it was corrupt. Bottom line, you know,
just
like
made it complicated.
They would come in and say, no, that's not up to code. You know, you can pay a fine to the city, or you could just give me the payment now, you know, kind of a thing, like just give me the money under the table. After that happened a couple of times, to be honest, I was like, there's not sustainable. Like for me, like, I don't feel comfortable just doing business like this for the rest of my life. And the like seasonality of tourism, I think, was kind of starting to wear me out too. And managing a business with 20 people, where in the beginning it was fun because I was on the bikes all the time, but now I'm in the office meeting with lawyers and accountants to stay out of trouble or in like just stay clean basically for business. And our margins went way down. And so at that point I was like, I started looking for something else. We were thinking of joining up with another company in Brazil. My wife's from Brazil, so we moved to Brazil for a while. That is when my good buddy that I grew up with in Salida came down to visit me and planted the seed and said, hey, why don't you get into real estate with me? Why don't you just come back home? You're trying to do this tourism thing, but I can tell it's frustrating you. He said, just come back up. You speak multiple languages. I had never thought about getting into real estate. I said, yeah, I'll think about it. I'm going to really try this bike tours in Rio de Janeiro. I'm going to try to make this work. 3 months later, it didn't work. My dad had a heart attack back in Salida, Colorado. He survived, but I came back and visited. I said, talked to my buddy Reed. I said, hey, I'll shadow you while I'm back and see if I like this real estate thing. And I went to a couple open houses with him, went to a few showings, and he just really showed me, I think, the value of what real estate is I always thought it was a huge sales job,
Right.
And he's like, no, you're being a consultant. You're helping people with the biggest decision of their lives and you're working one-on-one with them. And I was like, I could do this. I like this, I like working with people. I like helping people. And if I can be a consultant and learn the ins and outs of this industry, then yeah, I can do it. So went back down to Brazil, and with in mind, like we're going to move back in a year because my wife had to get a visa to move here to the US. So the whole year that we're working with an attorney to get her visa, I'm studying for real estate. This is in 2016. So we can hit the ground running here at the beginning of 2017. Took my test like 2 weeks after we got here and just started hitting open houses and doing floor shifts. And I was in real estate all of a sudden. So
that's awesome, man. I love it.
It was quite a unconventional way to go into real estate, from business management into real estate. It was like, oh, we'll just do this little loop in South America and learn a little bit more about business. So,
I love it.
Yeah. So when you said at the beginning of 2017, you started and you were hitting open houses and you were working the floor at your real estate company, like how long did it take you to start having success and enough success to feel like, okay, I can make it in this industry?
Yeah, good question. I would say 2.5, 3 years. But I knew it was going to take at least 2 years. I read a statistic when I got into real estate first that 87% of people who get into real estate quit in the first 2 years. I said, okay, I'm going to go at least 2 years. I'm giving it 2 years. I'll make a decision then, an educated decision, but I'm going to give everything I got to this industry in 2 years. Because I believe I can help people. I honestly didn't know a lot about houses. So I was interviewing agents in our office that had construction backgrounds. What's the difference between this siding and that siding? Reviewing inspection reports, reviewing appraisals, because it was all so new to me. But I would say it was about 2019 is when I felt like, okay, I got the hang of this. I had helped about 18 clients up to that point, and I worked my butt off for all of those 18 clients in 2017 and 2018. But I know I didn't have the knowledge that I have today, and that's how it is for a new realtor. You make it by hustle.
Yeah, you do.
Or anybody in this industry.
What did you do to stay sane during those 2 years? Because I think, there is, a piece of like, it's hard. Like you don't wake up every single day. Like you have to go out and find business. Like, it's not like you can just show up and
you have to be all in.
You have every day.
Yeah. And that's a good question. There are days that were really, really hard. Even in 2019, when I was like, okay, I think I've made it. But I went through like a 6-month period in 2019 when we had our daughter that I was working with 2 or 3 clients that didn't result into anything. One of them terminated the day before closing, and I had worked with her for 6 months and decided she's not going to buy a house. Just completely checked out of the house buying like goal. You know, I was like, wait, what? Everything we've done.
Like, can we
you know, and so
You
there
made it
is,
this far.
but you know, there's like, I look back at those moments and I probably could have done a better job vetting her. She had mentioned that she tried a year before, but you know, and I didn't dig deep enough, you know, and maybe it was just a goal, but she really didn't want to buy the house at that time. And that's okay. But I spent a lot of time with those clients. So to answer your question, Jen, sorry, I think it's just, you know, doing things for your mind, podcasts, books. I listened to Brian Buffini podcasts. He would reference, I think it's Jim Rohn, you know, who'd say, we brush our teeth every day, just like we have to kind of give positivity to our mind and give like momentum to our mind, because our mind can beat us up, especially in a full commission business where you don't really know anybody. You have to go out and find clients. And it's saturated. You guys know there's a lot of real estate agents here. So I think it was just being consistent and staying positive and listening to the podcast that would kind of keep me up, hit the open house every weekend or multiple open houses every weekend and stay positive and just keep having faith that things are going to work out and look for people to give value to.
I think when you're feeding your mind, I think that's so important, because you can get in like a really negative place, but like if you make a concerted effort when you're going through a difficult situation, whether that's business or anything, but like putting a huge focus and emphasis on like feeding your mind with people like who are going to inspire you, like that really is helpful.
Yeah, it is. It's just such a, when you said that percentage, that 87% quit within the first 2 years.
I don't know if that's true or not,
but and it's just such a small percentage.
It sounds true.
Succeed. I mean, from in lending too, you know, I've seen a ton of loan officers come in, and I'm trying to figure out like what that trait is between those that make it and those that don't. And I know it's a variety of, it's just a very unique skill set.
This is what we were talking about this weekend.
You know, I feel like you have to, like, even just the all-in aspect.
Right.
I think that some people don't understand, you know, like I know that some people don't. They just get licensed and they think, okay, I'm going to work 8 hours a day, if that, or, you know, I'm going to go and get this job and, you know, find clients. And you really have to have, it has to be more, it has to like consume a certain part of you, you know, at least at the beginning to be successful.
100%. You know? I mean, and I came into it knowing it was going to be hard. So I think I had the right mindset. And I think a lot of people get into real estate thinking it's going to be easy or easier than what maybe they've done in the past. And if you just know enough people, you'll make it. You know, there are a lot of people who have a lot of success in our industry that I think come in with huge networks. And I think that really helps propel them. If you start out with no network, I always would like to see what those people were doing, because I came, even though I grew up here, my business partner kind of already knew everybody that I knew. So he already had a lot of.
So you didn't really have a sphere.
Yeah.
Because even though you grew up in Salida, you moved to the Denver metro area.
Right. This was my first time living in Denver. Yeah. And so
I just
that's crazy.
But
I knew I had to meet people though. I was like, I have to go meet as many people as I can.
How'd you do that?
Beginning. I liked bicycles. I like bicycles. So I would go volunteer with Bike Denver, lead, you know, bike tours with them. I met a lot of people who had just moved here. Even in my own apartment, you know, just making friends where we lived in Cap Hill. I was doing open houses, a lot of open houses. I was door knocking. I was cold calling.
See, that level.
He's like, I went to every rave in Denver.
I didn't
Sounds
hit
like
the
a good
raves
time.
though. Yeah, I should have hit the rave. Maybe
Hold on.
I would have.
Can you just
Hold
imagine
on.
now that hold on, this is this is more important. No, this
Okay,
is more
you go
important.
ahead.
Can you imagine like now that you have a kid, like remember when you used to go out at like 10:30 and that was like sort of early? I can't even if someone actually said like, hey, I'm gonna meet you, like we're gonna meet at like 8:30 or not, I'd be like, absolutely not. Like
Well,
I'm out.
I'm a social person. I love people. And I think that's helped is I always want to meet more people and find out kind of more about them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm interested in people. And I think that's helped me in real estate.
Mhm.
Now that I have a daughter, my wife and daughter and I, we don't go out much, you know,
Mhm.
hit a brewery on the weekend, you know, we're pretty low key.
Mhm.
But I anytime I can get out and socialize, I will, but it's a lot more restricted now, you know, with dad duty. So.
And like protecting your peace. I feel like one thing we talked, I know you have something to say.
No,
totally
no, not at all.
But
I'm listening.
one thing we talked a lot about is like we have so much going on now that like we have to be very thoughtful and intentional about what we're adding to our plate. And like if it's not protecting our peace at some level, like we're kind of not
if you're not filling your cup.
Right. Like you have to, like that has to be a priority because when you have kids, you don't have quiet, the time to like reflect or, you know, it's difficult.
That's the big thing. I think peace brings reflection, and without reflection, you start to get really reactive, or I do, you know, if I'm not reflecting, being like, all right, like what went right this past week, or what could I have learned? What could I have done different? If you go a few weeks in a row and you just start getting into maybe like some negative habits, which I've done. I mean, this Nuggets playoff run is like killing me right now because I'm like,
dude, I'm
all in. Just win this championship.
I know. Can we sweep them and get them done?
We were
the past
talking.
2 months have been like, I've been a wreck, not a wreck, but like,
no, you've been a wreck. You've been a complete wreck.
It's off right now, you know? So, but it's just my routine. I'm up later. I'm watching more, you know, interviews and podcasts on basketball right now. So,
I know that. I feel
dude,
that
all we've been watching is like Jokic's like
that is part of life. Well, that's a good point though. Let's talk about this because this podcast, a lot of it is centered around personal development and like, you know, staying really consistent with positive habits, and that brings success in a lot of areas. But like I struggle with it. Like there's certain times where I'll go a full like 6 months or a year just being super diligent, and then I'll go 3 months, 6 months, you know, whatever, not being as diligent as I could be because it's hard.
I think that's normal. I think that's the natural cycle for most humans. I mean, there's very few of us who are such disciplined robots, you know, like the Jockos out there, you know, and it's like that's impressive that they can be so diligent on a consistent basis, or a David Goggins, you know. But I think human nature is we have our reflection that we know what we need to do. We do it with intentionality. And there comes a point in time where it's like, I need to relax a little more. I need a little more fun in my life. And that's how I am. I think balance is important.
Yeah.
I know whenever I need to come back to my disciplined self, I'll go for a long run. I go for an exercise, you know, workout, do a week of, you know, eating healthy, or I always try to keep diet, you know, or eating healthy up there because you are what you eat. I truly believe that. No, not going out and getting McDonald's every day. You know, I think that messes with your mindset. But if you're just doing that and you're not going out and letting loose or having fun, whatever that may be, if it's staying up late and watching a Nuggets game, I love watching the Nuggets. I only watch really in the playoffs though. So I'm kind of like, I've always watched the Nuggets growing up. Back in the day of Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, you know, and
I was showing you highlights.
I've seen the highlights.
I was like, you gotta watch
back in McNichols, you know, like so it's really cool to see what they're doing right now. And that doesn't happen always. So it's like, hey, we're gonna ride this wave, and I'm gonna stay up late every other night until they win this championship, if that's what it takes. Because in 2 months, they won't be playing anymore, you know, and we can go back to our disciplined selves.
Yeah.
And like,
I like that.
What's the point of it if you don't? And we always struggle with this because you have these like eating healthy or like exercising or sleep. Like you have this like layer of things that, you know, foundationally you have to kind of do over a lifespan to be like, you know, compete at a high level or do things at a high level. But like ultimately, like, what is it all for if you're never having fun?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you have to like you have to find a place where like your wheel of all the things that, you know, you have to kind of keep an eye on in your life. Sometimes like something is not going to have your undivided attention, and just recognizing, and I think like reflecting that that's there and you'll come back to it is really like 90% of the battle, you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
If you can't go have fun, like you said, what are we doing this for? You know, and that's filling the cup.
Yeah.
Is going and having fun, going to, you know, a weekend in Glenwood
Yeah.
Springs. You're filling your cup, and it's good that you recognize you need that, because if you're just grinding all the time, working hard, that also takes a toll on your mind, but your attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I think after a while that shows to the people you're in contact with,
Mm-hmm.
your loved ones, your clients. They know you're not as happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people can sense that. I think humans are very intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've gone for a weekend and you just didn't get on the phone as much, you didn't
Mm-hmm.
work as hard, you let yourself reset, and you can come back with more energy, and people feel that energy.
Mm-hmm.
Your clients will appreciate it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel great. Let's go to the bar right now.
Yeah. Let's do it.
That's funny. No, that's a really good message. I think it's just, yeah, it's comforting hearing that too. Just because I'll get on those extremes. Like if I have like 2 really disciplined days, it'll be like
he's a Gemini, Robin. I just feel like I need to preface
run on
it.
that for a while, you know, but then I'll have 1 day off and then I'll just run with that.
I'm a Libra, so I guess that I like
Libra.
balance.
Yeah, I like that.
I like the balance.
Same.
But I can't be having too much, you know, discipline and eating salads all day, every day. Now I need to go get a burger and like let loose and have a couple beers and just relax and talk with some friends, you know.
That's me.
I think that's important.
This guy will either eat like organs or like freaking like just McDonald's. But yeah, one day I came home and he's like, "Hey babe, I'm gonna eat some liver for this week." And I'm like, "What?" Like
it's bad.
Yeah.
Gross.
Was it from that? What was the guy's name? The meat eater?
I think it was part of that. Yeah, the Liver King.
The Liver King.
My Rob, he's actually an awesome teammate. He's on my team. He's really into some of the things that guy was talking about. So his diet, he went like all in.
Oh yeah,
on just eating meat and organs and liver.
Yeah,
and he's in great shape. But
like Andrew,
for him. But no, I got it from him.
A week.
It was the Liver King.
Andrew can eat it for a week and then like go and eat like just complete crap the next week. Like he's very like one. Oh yeah.
But then you kind of land in the middle.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So there it is. It's just not beating yourself up too hard when you go off,
which is hard.
I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did my point from before though, because it is really interesting that some people are successful and some people aren't. In you know, we could have the same intelligence level coming into it, but I also think something that you said was that your mentor told you that being a real estate agent is like being a consultant. Mm-hmm. And I think when you go and you had more, it sounded like you had a long-term philosophy of I'm going to give it 2 years. I'm going to work as hard as I can and I'm going to be a consultant. I think that is like just an awesome way to go about it, because you're not really looking at it from like, oh, I'm going to make commissions. It's really, I'm just consulting people and I'm helping people. Right. And I think if you go into it with that, like you're going to get back what you need to be successful.
And that's easier said than done in those first 2 years when paychecks are, you know, 3 months apart and, you know, you have bills to pay. So that's hard to do and how like to keep that mindset. But my whole thing was like, if I started a business in Buenos Aires with $3,000, how can I not figure out real estate? You know, a lot of people have figured this out. So it's just knowing the principles, you know, hard work, helping people, and not always thinking of the commission. Like you said, I think a lot of agents, we have production goals. You know, I'm going to help 40 clients this year and make, you know, 500,000 like that. I think that's a very common thing in any industry or any like sales related industry.
Yeah.
But when that's your whole goal, people know that too. Your clients know that they're just a number.
100%.
You know, they know they're just a number. And I've never wanted any of my clients to just feel like a number in my pursuit to making, you know, all this wealth. And I think that's where our industry gets it wrong sometimes. You know, we really thrive on awards for making $1 million. And it's like, well, you made $1 million. A lot of people haven't. I think that's an award enough, you know, but that's just my like perspective on it.
Yeah. And then I'm always like with that, it's like one, you have to humanize the experience. Like every single human you're coming into contact with has like a whole life and like a whole, like, and so when you look at it from like a numbers perspective, it takes that humanness away. But the other part is when, you know, and, you know, I ask people a lot about this because it's something that interests me, but when, you know, you say, what are your goals for this year? And that's the only answer they give me. And, you know, I want to make $1 million, blah, blah, blah. Part of me wants to be like, how's your marriage? How's your relationship with your kids? Like, how's your health? I mean, so like when you're not like being really thoughtful and intentional about all of those other pieces of your life that are, you know, very important. I think that that's another piece sometimes like in sales that people get really focused on that one piece. And that's, in my opinion, not the best way to consider what your goals are, because if you're just focused on that, like you're going to be off kilter.
Well, you know? And that's what I think our industry has coached for a long time, right? Is what numbers, what production numbers you're going to hit. And I used to do door-to-door sales for like a communication company, and we had to go to 50 doors a day, 50, like, and I had to bring back 50 business cards a day. And I was like, I didn't want to do that when I got into real estate. I was like, I don't want to do sales. I will call people, but my whole approach is going to be, what can I do to help you out? Not, I'm just trying to make another commission. You know, I think so. Shifting the mindset to whoever I'm talking to, if they end up becoming a client someday, great. If not, I have to just have faith in the process that me wanting to help enough people, enough of them will come through as clients. And it takes that certain amount of faith, but taking the approach that just give value, focus on their happily ever after, and make sure at the closing table they are happy. You know, that's the whole focus.
I love that, because it also takes away any call reluctance too, because you're just like, I'm here to just add value to you. Right. You know,
you're not asking for.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the guys I started following back in 2018 that got me into cold calling, and he called it circle prospecting, Ricky Caruth. He's like a top agent in Alabama. And I just found him on YouTube one day. And I liked his whole approach. It was like, hey, this house down the street from you sold. Is there anything I can do to help you out?
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, I really like that approach. You know, I'm not, because all the coaching we've learned is, do you know anybody who can buy and sell? You're calling them, asking them to help you.
Yeah.
Instead of calling them to say, can I help you with anything?
Yeah.
Do you need a market analysis? Most times they're going to say, no, I'm not selling. Great. I'm not calling to tell you to sell. You know, there might be a time in 10 years that you are going to sell. Can I just keep in touch with you until then? You know, and if you're showing up every week, sending them value, and I send a weekly email to everybody in my database, and that's been really crucial for my business.
Yeah.
Anybody that I get in my database, I send, you know, a weekly email, what's going on in the market, and I write it. I'm not just sending a piece that I get from Compass or something I get from Keeping Current Matters, you know, these real estate source websites. I take the data, I analyze it, I'll write it. You know, I spend about 2 hours on it every week, but that's my thing, you know.
Maybe you should include a dad joke at the end just to like really top it off.
That's what it's been missing.
I mean,
what it's been missing.
A little bit of humor.
I do need to throw some
humor.
I mean, I think you're right, Jen. That's my biggest takeaway today.
That's what I'm here for. Well, very few things, but I will give you that.
I appreciate that.
No, I think that's that 2 hours is a good investment of time, you know, for that and touching all those clients. So you had a lot of success with building the bike tour business, with putting a huge focus on customer service and client experience. Did any of that or what carried over from that to real estate?
Yeah, good question. I would say that philosophically, absolutely, because the whole point of customer service is giving somebody good service and taking pride in it, you know. And I would say I even learned that back from serving tables, you know, back in the day. I had one of my best friends growing up with, like, he would crush it in tips because he was so charismatic and he just had this smile on his face. Even if he was slammed, he knew how to manage it. And I always envied that, but he took pride in it, you know. And I was like, just serving tables, you know, if you can pull $100 in tips instead of 70, it's a win, you know. And that was kind of like his philosophy. But like, you're making people happy, you're giving them the experience at the restaurant. And so I took that into, we knew with the bike tours that was going to be our differentiator because it just wasn't a part of the culture where we were. So we knew we could thrive on that. Now, taking that to real estate, you're working with somebody for a long period of time, for months. So that took me a while to develop what that cycle looks like, instead of just taking somebody on a bicycle tour through the city for 4 hours.
It's a different relationship.
Right.
Totally different. You go way
Process.
deeper with these clients. You understand what they like, what they don't like. So, you know, one of my philosophies is Kaizen, like continuous improvement. And it's just after every deal thinking, okay, what can I do better? And what did I learn through this deal? That's one of the cool things about real estate is every deal you're learning something new. You really are. New financing, creative financing strategies, as you guys know about, you know, selling a property with well and septic, what needs to happen there, you know? And so, but taking that and trying to develop a process that once they're under contract, like you guys have done, have done a really good job with the gifting. You know, I give a gift for closing and every one of my clients' birthdays and home anniversary. I like what you guys have done is you've taken that period that they're most stressed and focused on their purchase to really kind of deliver that service and help them out. So I'm still working through that, like making the process when under contract. My whole thing is communicating with them so they know every step of the way what to expect. That's where I feel like I'm trying to deliver the service. And when you read a lot about clients in real estate that aren't happy with their agents, I started researching that. And a lot of it comes down to lack of communication from the agent. So trying to almost over communicate and let them know, send an email almost 3 times a week. Here's what's coming up next. Like you order something on Amazon, you know where your product is at all times.
Totally.
And trying to create a similar experience like that for somebody buying or selling a house, I think is important because it's their biggest investment for most of them.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
How has your perspective or your business changed since becoming a parent?
Ooh, good question. Yeah. I would say I am a lot more patient with my clients. I used to not be a very patient person. And I was telling you before about that stretch where I lost a couple of clients and it was right when we had our daughter and I wasn't sleeping. And I think I just like, I probably, you know, just wasn't the most pleasant or wasn't delivering the service that I needed to be. But I would say, being able to time block, set aside a time to focus on the work, because when my daughter's home, ideally, I want to just be with her, you know, and be a present parent. That's really hard to do. Sometimes you have calls or you're negotiating things till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. But I would say that that's more the exception. You're not typically doing that every day unless you're doing like hundreds of deals. And I don't want to do hundreds of deals. I'm happy helping 30 to 40 families a year, you know? So patience, time blocking, and these kids like to negotiate, you know, once they can communicate.
Hell yeah, they do, man.
They want to get a piece of candy if they finished all their dinner, you know? And so they're always trying to get what they want. And that's good. You learn these like little basic negotiation techniques that our kids throw at us. That helps in real estate, of course, too.
That's great.
Have you ever read, have
That's
you ever
really
read that? God, there's a book by an FBI hostage negotiator. I read it like years ago.
No, I do want to read that.
God, what is it?
Chris something.
Yes.
Chris, I can't think of his last name.
Oh, it's so good. You have to read it. It's
Okay.
really, really good.
Okay. I will.
Oh, Never Split the Difference.
Never Split the Difference.
Yeah. It's super good.
All right. I'm throwing that on the list.
Yeah. It's a great book. Yeah, no, I definitely think that, you have a shift in your perspective about work when you have a kid, and just I think for us, similarly, like when you have a kid, you recognize that you need more time to spend with them. And so I think your awareness of time and how you're spending it becomes like at the forefront of your mind all the time. Absolutely. How can I be more efficient? How can I do things better so that I have more time for my family?
Right.
Right. And that's just a really important lesson, hopefully, that people learn.
Happy hours are huge in our industry, as you guys know.
Yeah.
And since my daughter was born, like I haven't gone to a happy hour, and I like there's like a lot of good organizations out there that are doing great stuff, but all the networking events are in the evening. So for a while, I'll be honest, like I felt FOMO. I was missing out on meeting more people in our industry and going out and networking and socializing, but realize like once you're a parent, that's your number one job. A number two job is being a realtor or a good lender. Yeah. So it needs to kind of fit around their schedule, and that's hard to do, but it's one of the best things that we do.
And you got to have your values in line to make those decisions, because 100%. I think if you don't, you can get really confused about what's important, know?
Yep. 100%. Yeah. I don't want to be somebody that values work over being a parent.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of folks out there who do it and probably make really good money for their family, but what is your kid going to remember? How much money you made for them, or were you there for them?
Yeah.
So try to remember that.
One thing we haven't touched on is wrestling.
You're so good. I was just about to bring up.
It's because we've hang out too much, so I know what you're thinking at all times. It's really creepy and weird.
You saw that,
yeah.
It's like,
I was just about to bring that up. Well, I love just the connection between sports and business.
Yep.
I guess I was an athlete. I didn't play college sports, but like growing up, sports was really important. And then getting out of high school and becoming an adult, it was really hard to find out like, who am I in this world? Because I knew who I was, the hierarchy of your team, it's just pretty easy. You are who you are and you respect it and stuff. And then you get out into the real world and it's this whole brand new thing. So a couple things from you. I know that you wrestled and you played baseball too, or what?
Yeah, football, wrestling, and baseball in high school.
Okay. So you were an athlete. Yeah. Did you struggle to find,
did you struggle to take your helmet off?
I struggled.
To find your way after that.
I will say, like football and baseball were a lot of fun in high school. Wrestling was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it was the most formative, the most formative thing I could have done. I wouldn't have been able to go to Argentina and just say, let's start a bike tour company with this much money without wrestling. I just don't think it would be possible, because you just learn to fear less when you're in wrestling, because it's, for one, you're working really, really hard. I mean, it's almost like boot camp workouts. Two, you're literally wrestling somebody else for 6 minutes at a time, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
You have to be in really good shape. And two, there's this thing in wrestling about cutting weight, which is neither, if I could go back and do things differently, I wouldn't have cut weight in high school, or I would have just been in my natural weight, because that was the most mentally taxing thing. Being in a high school where your friends can eat whatever they want and you're like eating a piece of salad and chicken at night, that was really, really hard, but that I learned a lot of discipline. I learned that how to, say no and kind of stay focused on a goal, and also to fail. I learned to lose in front of my friends and family
Mm.
where I can't blame anybody else. The only one that's accountable is me. Like I wasn't good enough to beat this kid. You know, and so, and I, in front of like, you know, my girlfriend, my parents, you know, friends at school, but you're like in the spotlight in a lot of like these wrestling matches, you know, and so that teaches you so much. You learn how to win, but also how to lose humbly, you know. And I think that you could take that anywhere in life and just know that the worst. I remember my wrestling coach, he told us, is like, if you're feeling sick, just remember in 20 years, you're not going to remember you're sick during this match. And I always, you know, that always stuck with me, because I were a couple of times where I was very sick and like I was like, okay, well, I'll go wrestle. And you just learn that it's not that bad. Everything we project in our mind of how bad it could be, it's really not going to be that bad, you know?
Really
Just
ever.
go
That's
for it.
crazy.
Really ever.
Just go for it. You know, what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You know? So yeah, that was very formative to my life.
Yeah, no, those are the amount of discipline and like uncomfortable situations that it put you in, or the
That
amount
you
of
have to
discipline it
choose
built.
to be put in. Like you're
Right.
choosing.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Choosing to be uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Were you glad when that was over then in high school?
I was.
Yeah.
It's like, hell yes, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like
That sounds-
my dad wanted me to go to college and wrestle, and I knew by my senior year, I was like, I got what I needed from this sport.
Yeah.
You know, and I respect guys who go on and are Olympic wrestlers. I still follow it, and because it's such a tough sport, it's so mentally and physically draining. By the time I was 18, ready to go to college, I wanted a different experience. I didn't want to go wrestle. Like I wrestled from 5 years old to 18 years old. Yeah. At that point, that was like my whole life, you know, and I was like ready for something else. And like I said, I got what I needed. I'll always take this with me. I'll know when I'm not feeling right. I'm just going to go for a run, or I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to get back. I knew my body really well from wrestling, you know, and I could take that with me forever, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did your dad push you pretty hard?
You know, he pushed me to explore like the sports. He wasn't really hard on me though. I'm not going to throw him under the bus like that, because he was very.
Did he shave your head unwillingly?
That's what he didn't give me haircuts that I didn't want. So
I always just wonder that, you know, because my dad didn't. I mean, he put me in everything too. Wasn't super hard on me, and there was no like real expectation that wasn't met, you know, through it. But you know, raising kids now in this world, and I guess in just the communities that we're in, like it's really important for a lot of parents, and it's important for us too. You want your kid to be successful, you know, but you also don't want to push them to the point to where they resent you or they resent the sport, you know.
And I think like one thing we talk about, and I think just keeping it in the forefront of your mind, is like sports is a vehicle or a tool to teach your kids the lessons that we know to be very important in life, like how to fail, how to win, how to have discipline, how to like try new things, like all of those things,
how to be a member of a team,
how to be a member of a team, how to be a leader. Like those are the things I want my kids to learn. And like sports is the vehicle to teach them that. Absolutely. And I think one of the things, I mean, you do well, and because I'm always like the observer of sports things going on in our family, but like you make it a game with them, which is like really fun for, you know, like everything is like a game. And I think that keeping that, that mindset with kids is really important, you know.
Absolutely. I love sports. I mean, it's been a part of my life since, you know, growing up. And like we were talking about watching the Nuggets and football, my team is actually the 49ers because my dad's from the Bay Area, but every other sport I'm into Denver sports.
There's the Kittle.
Okay, we'll let that slide.
We'll let that slide.
At least it wasn't Travis Kelce.
And we'd have to be done immediately. Okay.
I like the Niners.
So, but I love sports, and I think you're absolutely right. It really is a vehicle to learn the hard lessons in life. But also the good lessons in life, and to have fun.
Totally.
Just play these sport. Like we need to have fun, you know, and like, the athletes that tend to do the best, they're competitive, but they also know how to have fun.
And they understand the meaning. And I think like one thing we were talking about this weekend, because I used to coach high school dance, and I have all these girls that like I'm connected with that I've coached over the years, you know, and now they're in their 20s and 30s, and which is weird because I'm still in my 20s. So I don't know how that happened. But yeah. So but like you have this connection to like when life gets hard, you have this connection to this world where like, what are you laughing about?
I'm just no, I'm listening.
My funny joke about being in my 20s. But like you have this connection where like when your life gets hard, you have people in this community that you can reach out to, you know? So like my girls will reach out to me to say like, I'm having this hard experience, like
camaraderie.
Totally. And I think
mentorship.
Mentorship and like, you know,
community,
right?
Can go back and have something to fall back on when life gets hard,
right? And it will,
absolutely.
You know,
I mean, my friends that I still talk to from Salida were in the wrestling room with me, you know, and we battled, you know, but it was like a brotherhood. Played football together, played baseball together. To me, baseball was just fun. It was always after wrestling season, I could eat whatever I wanted.
just kind of
right. And I enjoyed playing baseball, you know. But I was never stressed about it. Okay. We lose, it's fine.
We're good.
Baseball kind of has that vibe.
Totally.
It's just a fun sport to play. It's not so fun to watch, but it's fun to play.
If you could pick out like a couple books, or I mean, you know, influential people that you listen to in podcasts, anything, what are like some of the most important or influential books that you've read that have impacted your life?
Impacted my life, I would say, well, podcasts, I do like listening to Brian Buffini for kind of real estate mindset, industry style mindset. I like listening to Tim Ferriss. He's a little more long-winded with his interviews, but he has really great guests, and I think he's a really good interviewer. So I've learned a lot from kind of the doors that he's opened. He has a book, Tribe of Mentors, that I thought was really good. The title I never liked, but How to Win Friends and Influence People. You know, Dale Carnegie, I think, teaches a lot about human connection, communication. That the title, I think, sounds way more superficial than the content of the book. Because the content you can learn in there is incredible. I like reading about history too, you know, which isn't always motivational, but I think it helps bring perspective. We talked about that, Andrew, you know, just the enjoyment of history, and I love, you know, going on a bender of World War I or World War II, because you see how different life was just like 50 to 100 years ago and how good we have it now.
It's insane.
Our problems today are really first world problems. They're really kind of ridiculous if we're complaining about them. So I like those for perspective. That kind of, I guess, genre. But yeah, I would say, gosh, I feel like I'm missing something. I'm not
I'm sure you'll
giving a good book.
I'm sure you'll think of it as soon as we're done.
Yeah,
it's always
surely. I surely will. So we'll have to put it in the show.
Yeah, we can put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I have one last question, unless you have something.
I want to, just before we get to the last one,
are you going to talk about your book that you both read or reading?
No.
Okay.
That could be a
Native American book.
We'll do our own podcast on that.
We should.
Please,
Native
please
American
don't.
history, guys. Tune in for that one.
Yeah, tune in. No, what was I was gonna actually say, with the Buffini podcast, and I know you mentioned the I think Jim Rohn or whatever, Zig Ziglar, where it's like you bathe every day, you brush your teeth every day, you need to find ways to motivate yourself every day. Do you ever get burnt? Like, do you ever get burned out on listening to that?
100%.
Where it's just like, shut up.
No, and there's a time and a place for everything, right? And that's why I think self-improvement is very important, but you don't need to be on it 24/7.
Right.
Like we talked about earlier, sometimes you have to go in to, you know, something else, like go have a few drinks with the friends, or if drinks aren't your thing, go play some, you know, go to a museum, whatever it is that you do to kind of take your mind off of being so goal oriented,
Right.
because you will burn yourself out.
You will.
Yeah, you
100%.
do.
And I think you can also get, paralyzed with options of like what you can do to be successful, and
Right.
sometimes I'll do that and it's overwhelming because I'll be like, oh my God, I should implement that, or I should implement that.
Yeah.
And then it's like you really can kind of go in and take 2 or 3 things maybe from that podcast that you can implement into your business
Yep.
for the next 12 months, and then
I agree.
yeah, I just
And I did leave a few books out, and they're not so business oriented, but I think they're really good for like mindset and perspective. But 2 really powerful books. One is A Man's Search for Meaning.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
That
Paulo
one.
Coelho?
Victor-
No,
Victor
oh,
Frankl.
oh, that's right.
Frankl.
Okay.
Viktor Frankl. Yeah. The Alchemist.
That's
is
right.
Paulo
The
Coelho.
Alchemist. Yeah.
Yeah, and both of and that was going to be my other one.
Was
those
it?
those are both.
That's
That's
funny. I
weird.
thought
God, you
that's like
guys
what
are
you were
having like a
saying.
weird book.
Yeah.
That's funny, man.
But I mean, these are that Man's Search for Meaning is you read about him being in concentration camps and what is there to live for, what is
Mhm.
pulling you through this misery that you're really like living through, as a human. It's so powerful.
And how much
That's the
between our
book.
ears.
I had to go to New York for brain surgery, and that was the book. Remember, I read
Yeah.
on the plane ride
I remember that.
to go there. Yeah, but it was truly one of the most helpful books because when you're in a position where like everything is out of your control, like you feel like you have no control over whatever awful experience you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Like you have your mind still. And
Yeah.
I think that's like just understanding that, like you can walk into really hard things and know that you have that,
Right.
That's a great book.
Yeah. Those are
That's powerful.
I feel like my transition is going to be terrible, but this is the last question.
That's okay.
So if you could see one band at Red Rocks,
Oh gosh.
a
That's
music
a good
question.
one. That is
What?
a good one.
or who would it
Would it
be?
be a
Or
fave?
it could be someone that you've seen there, or like your favorite band.
So I'll answer the 2-part question. One of my favorites that I've seen there was Tom Petty and Joe Crocker.
Oh wow. Were you there?
Crocker,
I was.
sorry.
Can I tell you a funny story about that?
Yeah.
I lost a shoe. Like, how does
Did you
one
really?
lose a shoe?
Wow.
Was it 2009, 2010? Or did they play?
Yes, it was no, it was right around then, and I lost a flip flop.
Robin's like, I found a flip flop.
Flop. That was you? I still have it.
So if you saw some idiot walking around the concert with
man.
one shoe on, that was me. Carry on.
Not the only one.
Carry on.
Dang, that would have been a
Yeah.
cool show though.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I always liked Tom Petty, and now both those guys are gone. And so that was a really fun show to go to there. But if I could go to see anybody there, man, that is a really good one. That wasn't.
I know that was a
This is
surprise.
the-
Just
this
threw
is the
that in.
surprise question. While he's thinking, who would yours be?
Yeah.
And can it be past or present?
Yeah. Can it be past or present?
It can be. There's no rules.
Well,
You could do whatever the hell
that
you want.
gets a little-
I've seen Stevie Nicks,
Yeah, I have too.
I would love
but
to
I
see
have
Stevie
not
Nicks,
seen
yeah.
Stevie Nicks at Red Rocks. And
Stevie Nicks
or-
or Fleetwood Mac.
yes, Fleetwood
Wow.
Mac.
You've seen
Nice.
Fleetwood Mac.
I've
no.
seen Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
That would be cool. to see.
Okay, but the other one, and this is Andrew's fault that this didn't happen. In 2005, we were supposed to see Dave Matthews at Red Rocks, and
Yeah.
he was like, let's not go.
I think we had
Last-
just seen him or something was going
Last
on.
freaking time
Yeah.
he ever played at
Yeah.
Red Rocks, and I'll never
Wow, he
ever
played-
forgive him for that.
Yeah, because he like played too late and violated the noise
Oh,
ordinance
really?
Yeah.
for Morrison.
Yeah.
For like the third.
He
or
just
fourth
jammed
time,
out
'cause
for like
they-
hours.
Yeah.
No
and so
kidding.
he can't go back. Yeah.
Oh,
He hasn't been back since.
gosh, come on, people.
So anyways,
You're
it would
living
be
your Red
right.
Rocks,
I know.
I know.
And it's
Just gotta-
Dave. I
just-
mean, like,
I'm
Yeah.
so pissed
Yeah,
that
I
we
love
missed
Dave
that.
Matthews Band.
I do too.
I would have to say probably Jimi Hendrix,
Oh,
Ooh, that'd be
Yeah.
good.
just to see him go nuts on the guitar. And I really like strings. I love listening to the strings. So yeah,
be
he
good.
was so talented. Carlos Santana too. I mean, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
such a tough
That'd be a
question.
good one too.
I'm gonna be like thinking of this
Yeah.
the rest of the day.
There's so
That was a
many.
great
There is.
question.
What would
Yeah.
yours be?
Yeah, what would yours be?
Yeah, that
So,
is a great
so he
question.
says Shania Twain or something.
Yeah.
I honestly,
Feel
yeah,
like a
right.
woman.
Taylor Swift. God, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad I got to see Fleetwood Mac. They're one of like my like all time, favorite bands. I grew up listening to them. My parents were big Fleetwood Mac, Steely Dan, John Cougar Mellencamp.
Yep.
Is like kind of the house I came up in. So all of those. But Dave, I do regret that. I would, if I had a chance to go back.
You should regret it.
Actually, I changed my not. Okay, Hendrix is awesome, but for vocalist, the one vocalist I would have loved to go see would be Amy Winehouse.
Oh,
Yeah, obviously she was
God.
a little wild, but her
So good.
talent as far as a vocalist, I think is just unparalleled. Like she's an incredible singer.
Yeah.
Well,
so
if you think she's incredible, you should have sat next to Andrew Gallegos during choir class.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
jeez. I was not.
he was so
No way,
bad.
man.
He's so
No
bad.
way, man.
give us a little ballad here
I'll give you guys some bars.
to wrap us up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You don't want to hear that. Where can people find you? I've seen some cool videos that you've been doing lately. I think on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Instagram, Robin.Gerlach. I'm on Twitter. Nobody follows me there though, because I just got on there recently.
Okay.
Maybe someone will now.
I have a YouTube channel. I think I have like 8 subscribers. So I'm really playing myself up here.
Man.
Facebook, Instagram, robingerlach.com is my website. LinkedIn, whichever. Yeah. You could put my phone number and email address in
Awesome.
the show notes if you
Yeah.
like as well.
Yeah, we will.
So, yeah.
We'll put those in the show notes.
Cool.
Check that out, people. Robin's a great guy, and we're just glad that you sat down with us, man.
Yeah.
We could.
Yeah, thanks for
I've said this a couple times, but we could literally probably talk for 4 or 5 hours. I think.
Well,
and it would be
just
good.
have your Native American
Yeah,
history
we'll do
podcast
another one,
another
man.
day
We'll-
because
yeah.
I'm for it.
yeah, you guys can do that on your own.
Talk
and all.
about Texas Rangers and Comanche tribes fighting each other
I
in the
love it.
1800s. Like, yeah, we'll need some bourbon for that one.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
thanks for coming on. Thank you all for listening. Please like us. Please subscribe. Please give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy the content. But we really appreciate the support.
Thanks.
Thank
See
you.
ya.